All right, should be good. Hello, sir.
Hello there. How are you?
I'm really good, actually. Thanks for asking.
Good.
Okay, I guess you can hear and see me, so we can jump in.
I can hear you and I can see you.
All right, let's do this. Welcome to Just Curious Media. This is Let's Talk Cobra Kai. I'm Jason Connell.
And I'm Sal Rodriguez.
All right, Sal. We are back with another episode.
Yeah, and this one's sort of bittersweet, it seems. It's like, and I'll tell you why it's
I
bittersweet. On
agree.
one hand, I like it. On the other hand, I don't like it.
Okay. All right. Well, this just came up. I knew something was brewing. I'm not in Los Angeles anymore, but I knew something was brewing. I have friends who are writers,
Yes, yes.
screenwriters. And today we are talking about Cobra Kai season 6 delayed because
Wow.
there is a writer strike.
I see him out there, Jason. I drive by the
Yeah.
studios. I
Yep.
was driving by Disney Studios just the other day in Burbank.
Yep.
I saw them out there. I was driving by Warner Brothers Studios in Burbank. Saw them out there. See them
What are the
out there.
chants? Did you get any of the chants?
What's the chance?
I don't know. What are they chanting?
Oh, CHANTS.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I had the windows up and did not hear the
Yeah.
chant. But hey, you know what though? I would imagine it would be one of the most creative chants
I bet
we've ever
I bet
heard.
you it is. Well, to be clear, the Writers Guild of America is on strike. And Sal, that strike first, strike hard. No,
Wow,
you're not
I
going to do
hadn't
it.
thought about
You're
that. I
not
hadn't
going
thought
to do the
about
third.
how the writers.
No mercy.
No mercy.
Yeah, when I saw
No, it's
strike,
so
I was like,
perfect. It's so
it's
perfect.
so perfect. You're
Oh
like,
my God.
ah,
Why? See, this is where I think I'm so lame sometimes that like, why did I not think about that at all until this very day?
that's okay. But they are on strike. And this is not a funny thing. I have friends, like I just mentioned, who are writers. I saw firsthand, like you're seeing now, the last writer strike. It's been a while. 07, 08, it was a 100-day walkout, that strike.
Wow.
I remember that. And I mean, that
Yeah.
displaces people, jobs, shows going on hiatus. Some shows might not come back from such things. Now, I had no idea. I wasn't sure until I saw this article about Cobra Kai in particular, because I thought maybe they were done writing and they
Yeah.
were
Yeah. Yeah.
shooting. We don't know the schedule
Sure.
until I got this article, which we'll get into here, that definitely lets us know that the show is not all written and it's on hold, which will inevitably delay the series.
Jason, just to go back to 2007, 2008, that
Yep.
writer strike, a couple
Yeah.
things. I would like to stress the impact
Yeah.
of a writer strike. A writer strike means a studio shutdown that has a ripple effect
Mm-hmm.
across the entire greater economy of the area, Los Angeles, LA County, even probably the state of California. So the impact is far reaching when there is any given strike, probably any industry has the
Yeah.
far reaching impact. But for our local economy, for certain, all over
Yeah.
the surrounding area, it is very much a big deal. Now, back in 2007, 2008, I remember I was going to Griffith Park for a workout and I was
Mm-hmm.
pulling into the parking lot. And it just so happens I found out that striking writers will picket productions sites, the locations themselves, like
Mm-hmm.
the studios, but also locations. So they were filming at Griffith Park that very day. I pulled in and I was surrounded by a bunch of angry writers on strike,
What were the
surrounded my
chants
vehicle.
that day?
Well, they were angry at me. It was kind of
They
intimidating
thought
because
you were crossing the
they
line?
thought I was crossing the
Oh,
picket line. And
no.
somebody, I think, came over to the window and like I cracked the window a bit and they said, "Are you with the production?" I said, "No, I'm not with any production. I'm here to do my workout." And they're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, okay." And they're like, "All right." And then they parted. There was like a parting of the sea. And then
Wow.
I drove through, but I was very much
Sal
surrounded and
Rodriguez
intimidated.
coming through. Stand back. Stand back.
30 Hollywood writers surrounded my car. It was very reminiscent of the LA riots.
And you go in the park and then you put your big camcorder and you do a whole production filming yourself working out. Going, this guy,
One man production.
this guy. Oh, wow. So to give more context onto a writer strike, because we're insiders, right? I've seen them. I've been in LA for a long time. You've always lived in Los Angeles. You've been around this, but some people are like, what's going on? So we're going to give a little more context before we get into what Cobra Kai had to say. So Hollywood, this is the headlines. Hollywood hit with writer's strike after talks with Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers, the AMPTP, fail. Guild slams studios for gig economy mentality. Now, this is what the WGA sent out to its members, a direct message. And Sal, please do the honors.
Though we negotiated intent on making a fair deal, and though your strike vote gave us the leverage to make some gains, the studio's responses to our proposals have been wholly insufficient, given the existential crisis writers are facing. We must now exert the maximum leverage possible to get a fair contract by withholding our labor. Members of the negotiating committee, board and council, we will be out with you on the picket lines. Woo, those are very big lines.
Exactly.
Wow.
You did a good job getting through that, but this is how serious it is. And they are getting treated go on.
Well, I was gonna say those lines almost read like a declaration of war. It's like
Totally.
this is serious business.
Yeah, this is no joke. This is not showing up to work. This is shutting down productions. People, all sides, are losing money. Studios are losing money. Writers, not just writers. This is trickle down. Producers, directors, actors, crew, everybody. No one's working. So it's pretty serious. And I remember the last strike, 0708, it was a different time. It's funny how that doesn't feel like that long ago, but then it does. And it was really because internet was starting to come into play, right? Like, oh, internet rights. And right. Well, what I've been reading is this particular strike also deals with streaming rights and things like that, because, and I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but there was a time when people would get residuals. Like, I wrote that script and I wrote on Alf for, let's just say, for instance, for many years, and I got residuals for many more years after that. Well, if you're doing a streaming project, residuals are not part of the equation anymore, at least not for most people. You get paid handsomely, hopefully, you do your job, and you move on. It doesn't go into syndication anymore. So it's just a different time. So you've really got to get paid. And that's like, people might say, well, woe's me, you're just a writer. Well, sit in front of a page that's empty and try to fill it out. Writing is essential to our industry, but you're getting paid less. I made some notes here now. There's a lot of non-transparencies. Netflix doesn't divulge how a show does or a movie does. I know this firsthand. Like, we had successful shows on Netflix, documentaries. Oh, it's doing great. What's that mean? No numbers. You have no idea how it did. They keep all of it. They're real cagey about numbers. So you can't say, oh, my show's doing great. You could produce a show and you never know how it's doing. They keep that, behind lock and key. Mm-hmm. And then some of these writers' rooms are shrinking. These are like mini rooms I was reading, because some writers' room styles, I'm sure it could have like 20, 30 people, and they're all working. You need that many people, ideas, availability. They're shrinking because there's just less to go around. And it's not a good situation. And I don't know how they get it resolved. Well, Jason, inevitably they will, but still.
But part of this, I understand. I don't know if we're going to mention that today, but is knocking on every industry's door right now. Mm-hmm. And believe me, I find it somewhat terrifying. AI and how AI is affecting every industry, let alone the creative realms, like writing itself.
Well, while we were on this podcast, I went to ChatGPT and had them finish season 6 of Cobra Kai. I just plugged it in. They banged out. No, who knows?
Not that, now? Jason. It's not that far fetched that somebody can do that. As to whether or not the producers would go for it, this is an interesting thing, because
bad joke.
If you think about it, you have the Writers Guild, you have the Producers Guild, and when it comes to the Guild, when he has all the guilds, don't you have possible showrunners where they overlap and they're in both guilds that are essentially competing? How does that work? Which do you have allegiance to?
That's a whole other episode. I don't know. I do know that we're in the middle of a writer's strike. That I know. And it all starts with the writing. It truly does. Now, a question I would have for someone else is, what if they had written and finished season 6 already? Could you go into production? I always thought it was a yes, but I don't know for sure. So I'm not the guy to ask, but I think there are shows that, hey, we're done writing. There's no more changes, but we are shooting this scene. I think that can happen if I'm not mistaken, but more often than not, you're writing as you go, you're making changes. So then you really just say, stop it all. We want to stand by our writers and not just go off and shoot a show and then alienate them. And we're getting paid and they're not. So a lot of people are about solidarity, which our team of Cobra Kai is, which
Yes.
I'm happy to hear that.
Well, obviously they have publicly announced that they stand with the Writers Guild.
Yes. So phasing into the next part of this episode, and it talks about Cobra Kai, and then we actually hear from one of the creators. So let's delve into this. So the trickle down effect is inevitable, as I've just mentioned, and season 6 of Cobra Kai is going to be impacted. And to that point, show creator John Hurwitz confirmed that the Cobra Kai writers' room will be on indefinite hold during the strike, but that the group will continue their work on the show after a fair deal has been made. When that happens, Sal, anyone's guess. The last one again was 100 days. It's 3+ months. It's a long time. Now, Cobra Kai's 6th and final season was originally going into production this month of May. Crazy. What a coincidence. But it's likely that the date will be pushed back until the resolution is reached, of course, which means the release date, which we don't know. There's speculation that this could be a 2-part season because it's going to be a lot more episodes, or at least they're hinting at that. So everything's getting pushed down the pike, and for good reason. I mean, this is a reason to do so. So there's an impact. So you said initially good and bad news. What's the good news? That they're staying together, or that you've got more time before the season starts? Was it a selfish thing?
Well, there's something that I hold on to in life, and that is it's an old saying.
Oh, I know what you mean.
And
okay.
and that is the keys to happiness. Three keys to happiness.
Something to look forward to.
Something to do, someone to love, something to look forward to. So
I
always
totally
like
get that.
something to look forward to.
Yeah.
And although we're all looking forward to season 6, now that anticipation becomes longer.
Yep.
It stretches that looking forward to. So I don't mind that, because it keeps me in that realm of anticipation and of hope, and of reaching for the near future.
I'm with you. There's something to getting over gratification that's not good. I mean, listen, when they drop this season, in all likelihood, unless they do a 2-parter, right? Whatever, Netflix gives you the whole thing. It gives you
Jason,
the whole.
I don't like that.
I know. And if
No.
they took it away and went HBO style and just spoon fed us the one, or Hulu does that, or just traditional television, we'd probably accept it, and we'd have a lot more like, oh my gosh. So I totally get that, Sal. I do. You get too much and you're like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? So I'm with you. I agree. I always look, I'm excited by what comes next, and I don't mind the wait. I was going to bring up, it reminds me of the NFL. I'm a huge fan of American football, and all football for that matter. But anyway, meaning soccer. But the season is only not 17 games plus playoffs, right? Where they're playing so many more games in basketball in the 80s. And in baseball, it's like 100 plus 160 games. So you get to 17, and then the season only lasts a few months, and then you're just missing it for like 6 months. And I'm telling you what, that feeds the fire. It's the reason why it's the #1 sport, because we are dying to have it, and then we get it, we just consume it, overconsume it, and then we got to wait. And there's definitely something to that, yin and yang, I tell you. But
I hadn't thought about how football seasons distinguish themselves from other sports seasons.
Yeah. There's a real off season where baseball is like, World Series just wrapped, spring training opens tomorrow. It's like, what?
Okay.
So,
I like that. I do like that anticipation, and so I'm okay with the delay, and I'm very pleased because I'm assuming that, again, the showrunners are probably members of the Producers Guild as well, and yet they're backing the writers. There's a solidarity here.
I love that.
And I almost wouldn't expect anything less. I think that the Cobra Kai entity has shown itself to be
it's a family,
a real well-oiled working machine, cohesive. So I'm not surprised to hear this, but I'm pleasantly I'm happy to hear what the showrunners are saying.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned that we're going to hear from John Hurwitz, and this was on his Twitter, May 2nd, 2023. Sal, take it away.
We hate to strike, but if we must, we strike hard. Pencils down in the Cobra Kai writers' room. No writers on set. These aren't fun times, but it's unfortunately necessary. The moment a fair deal is in place, we'll get back to kicking ass. In the meantime, sending strength and support to the negotiating committee. You got this. Hashtag WGA, hashtag WGA strong, hashtag writer strike. Oh, I'm kind of pumped up now. I'm pumped up.
Those are some nice hash browns, I gotta say.
They are nice hash browns.
No, that's really great, Hurwitz. Really well said. Inspiring words. In fact, when he wrote pencils down in the Cobra Kai's writer's room, I'm just thinking back to like someone on the SAT. Okay, time's up, and they're just banging it out. Like, no, I got one more joke. I got to get this down. I love the sequence, like as if it's in real time. But this is not going to hurt Cobra Kai. Let's be very clear here. It's not going to hurt them. They know this. In fact, it's going to feed the beast. And people are going to be like, holy, and no matter how long this writer strike is, hopefully they can hang on to their writers and they don't take other jobs, non-writing jobs, or they want to come back when the deal is inked. But I don't think it's going to hurt Cobra Kai. They're going to go out. They're going to probably be the #1 show on Netflix. And then they can rival Stranger Things, because I think Stranger Things is going into its last season as well. So Netflix is not in trouble. It's just we got to wait and let this play out.
But Jason, let me ask you, go back in time a little bit here. What was the longest we were ever between seasons where we didn't know the premiere date of the next season? Like, in other words, this little limbo that we're floating around in right now, where we have no definitive air date, we've been here before, but for how long?
Well, I mean, let's just go back to before season 3, before Netflix got involved. That was a strange time, right? We were already doing the show, and I was moving cross country, and then Netflix drops the first 2 seasons and hints at there'll be a 3rd season, and then they randomly pick a day, and then they jump the gun by a week because Johnny went on the internet. Yes. So there was a little bit of vagueness there, but the show wasn't at this level. Like, it was getting there. It was ramping up, but now
it was on the incline. Now we know it's going to be the final season. So this is, I almost feel like we're out at sea. We know land is up there
we need a
somewhere.
Lighthouse.
Yeah, but we don't know when we're going to get there. We don't know what it's going to look like when we get there, but it's up there somewhere.
The Point Judith Lighthouse in Narragansett, Rhode Island, just down the street, which Johnny likes to talk about. Yeah, so that is it. So I knew this was timely. Obviously, it deals with the release date. Now we know the show's not even in production yet. Maybe it's better. They didn't get going and like, crap, we got to pause. It's probably good to hit the eject button right now.
Yeah.
And just see how this thing plays out. And like I mentioned earlier a few times, I do have close friends. I'm assuming they're picketing. I know they're not writing. It's funny. I was going to land some to come on the podcast because they have availability now. Some writers of different screenplays. I was like, my gosh. So my heart goes out with them.
What are you doing? Nothing? Get over here. Get on the show.
On a podcast. Let's talk movies. I can talk movies. I just can't write them right now. But that is it, Sal. I hope to come back and do Cobra Kai season 6 announcement date, release date, everything that we usually do. The first look photos, all that stuff's coming. Just not yet.
Sure.
Unfortunately.
Sure. And I would just like to remind, though, all the toy makers that hold licenses for Cobra Kai and Karate Kid, hey, you got a little more time now.
Yeah.
So let's churn out
some
more merchandise, more collectibles for Karate Kid, Cobra Kai lovers.
Yep. So that's all I got, Sal. Until we come back with more news, that's a wrap. So thank you so much for listening, and please be sure to subscribe to the Let's Talk Cobra Kai podcast and the Let's Talk Cobra Kai YouTube live channel. You can also really help us by giving the show a 5-star rating on Apple Podcast.
And for all you listeners that enjoy sharing your thoughts, you can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, send us a direct message, or post a comment on any Let's Talk Cobra Kai social media platform.
We also highly recommend checking out our other podcasts and visiting justcuriousmedia.com.
no mercy.
Great job.